Hello and welcome. In this video I will talk about what I consider to be essential tools for building or throwing motorcycle wheels. And also the tools that I think are important even for amateurs and beginners. Everything that I say in this video is my opinion based on my experience. It is not a paid advert. Smart people take money for these things. And it is intended to provide information as well as to provide feedback. I will make a table of contents visible in this video's description so that you can skip to the parts of interest. And this first long boring part will be called the introduction. The table of contents is also visible if you hover your mouse over the timeline. So I will do several things here. I will first explain the situation in my country when it comes to tools and parts, because I think that's important to understand some catches and gotchas that will be shown in this video. Not want to hide anything. So that's first thing. Then I will explain why I chose the set of tools that I chose, that I will be showing today. And then finally I will explain why I think it is a good set of tools and how it is used. So now, without any further boring talk, let us begin. First, to explain, in my country, Serbia, we have shortages of everything still, and tools and parts are not readily available. I have to buy them from abroad. To make the matters worse, I don't know of any motorcycle wheel builders in my city, at least not those that are able to build good quality wheels. So for myself and for my friends, either those racing classic motorcycles or riding off-road motorcycles, or those who restore classic motorcycles and build like beautiful works of art, editing those motorcycles custom made. So for those options, I don't know anyone to send people, to recommend people to send their wheels to. They always end up in my garage. And so far I have I had a lot of problems to build wheels properly in a fast and efficient way. So it was a lot more hassle compared to building bicycle wheels because I didn't have proper tools. And so after a lot of thinking, I decided to risk and spend what for me is a substantial amount of money to get some high quality tools so that I can work easily and get the job done. So that is the current situation. No tools available in my country and no one to talk to get information. Now, how did I choose this tool and why did I opt for this one? Because I had to rely on what I consider to be unreliable reviews, both from users and for websites and videos and everything. I generally take all those with a bucket of salt because users are often not very proficient. I don't know how proficient a customer is when they leave a review. Are they doing it properly? Do they know what they're doing? Do they know what they're talking about? As far as websites and YouTube goes, I'm not sure how proficient those people are, and I'm not sure if it's a paid advert, and I often don't get all the details that I like. So no one makes long and boring videos like I do. For my videos, I like to make them long, boring, and mention everything so that I can use them as a reference and a reminder if I am not sure about some product that has come through my shop. If I've written a review or made a video, I know that is as much as I could figure out. So as good as it gets. So even if I do say so myself. And however, I was working with what I have, and based on all the prospects, images, feedback, everything that I could gather, I decided that this is the least bad of all the available options. One of the reasons why I chose this, also an important one, is that this company, Warp9Racing.com, allowed me to make one order and get all the bits for all the sizes of spokes that I am likely to encounter. Other companies could not provide a set of tools that had all the sizes in it, and so that would make me unable to do a job if I get some exotic nipple sizes that I sometimes come across, and I wanted, if I'm paying for the shipping, which is not a small amount of money, about $40. Some companies charge more, some a bit less, and import taxes, which are a real hassle in my country and very high, so I end up paying almost double the retail price of the tool that I'm ordering. So with those things in mind, it is very expensive for me to buy one piece separately. I wanted to make one order and cover it all, and this is what fit the build, that looked like decent quality tools and that was able to provide me with all the parts that I needed. Okay, now a small digression about Warp9Racing company. This is their logo, and I will put a link to their website along with an Amazon affiliate link so that I can become rich if you buy using that link. When I ordered this set of tools, one of the bits was missing. Here, this is what the tool set looks like. I'll show it later. I'll show it later in more detail. But one of the bits was missing that I ordered separately, additional bits that look like this. And judging by our customs in Serbia, for me it was quite possible that the part was dropped somewhere when they were opening to check if I'm ordering something more expensive than says on the label, or something illegal or whatever, and it's quite possible that they managed to drop it and lose it, and there was no way for me to confirm whether the package was opened or not in transit. Of course, I contacted Serbian customs and they swear they didn't even touch it, they just used the papers to make the custom checks. There's no way for me to confirm that or to deny it. So no, I'm not explaining this to point fingers, but quite the opposite. What I did was I contacted Warp9Racing, and I wanted to order the missing part, 5.9mm bit, separately, even though I had just ordered the set of tools. And I didn't want that. I also wanted to have that shipped to my friend's address in Germany, because Serbian FedEx service was required about a dozen phone calls and emails in a very set timeline before the shipment is returned. So for me that was a lot of stress, and trying to be as objective as possible, not being irrational or emotional, but it for me was very stressful, and it looked to me as if I needed to beg them to do their job so that my shipment does not get returned to the seller. So I had to really do a lot of patient, hard talking and writing back and forth with customs and FedEx in Serbia to be allowed to pay $140 for their hassle and for the customs in order to get tools that were worth less than $200 in total. And I wanted to avoid doing that, so I wrote to the seller, to Warp9Racing, saying, okay, please send this to my friend's address in Germany, I want just this part. It was missing in the original package, and as far as I know, it could have been lost at the customs. So I wasn't blaming anyone, but my reason for explaining was that I didn't want the seller to think that I'm trying to do some fraud or something, because I'm ordering now something that I had just ordered to another address. And what the company did was send me a bill for $0 and ask me if it's okay, if it's acceptable for me. So no paying for the part and no paying for the shipment. And in my opinion, it is not about the money. I could afford that, and it's one of the risks of working in Serbia. But I think that shows a very good character and dealing with people, with customers, and I think that should be praised. And based on my experience, Warp9Racing looks like a good company to do business with. So I think that's important, and I hope that this video will help them at least a little bit, and maybe encourage other companies to be similarly sportsmanlike. Don't know how else to phrase it, because that's also the way I like to do business, and that is what I do whenever I'm in doubt that a customer might be in some way, if I can compensate them and help alleviate problems, I try to do that, and it is very rewarding. So that is the kind of people I like doing business with as well. So that's for that. Sorry about the long digression. And now when it comes to this set of tools, let's show what this looks like. Here I'm not sure if it is all caught in the camera, but here it has a chart for, okay, let's start with the beginning. Here it comes with a set of spoke keys or nipple keys of various sizes. Let's show it. And it has a tool where you can put a nipple on. Let's show that. Here is, you place a nipple, and it has these like small holes, and that allows the tool to be, here it has this like a ball that is spring loaded. If I insert it, and as I turn it around, when the hole in the tool aligns with that ball, either on one side or on the opposite side, it will no longer turn easily. And this allows me to easily screw in and screw out any nipples. This tool is very strong, and it's not very thick in profile, and this nipple driver, nipple key, is made to be asymmetrical. So one side is closer to the edge, so to speak, and that allows me to come close to the nipple without scratching the rim, while the opposite side is not as easy. So that's one of the reasons why it was designed that way. So it can fit over a nipple without being too thick so that I cannot fit, but still being as far away from the rim as possible, so not in the middle or something in the top. So that's a great thing as far as the design goes. That is one tool that's used for loosening stuck spokes, nipples, and for building wheel. It's relatively small in diameter, it's curved, so I'm unlikely to scratch anything or damage any rims. It also comes with this torque wrench. This is torque wrench for nipples, and it is used to make sure that you are not over tightening your nipples. You should not use this for unscrewing any nipples, any stuck nipples, you might damage it. But when you are finishing your wheel truing or building procedure, you use this to make sure that the tension of the spokes is optimal by measuring the torque that you are tightening the nipples with. That method of measuring tension of spokes is not a very precise one. I preferred using tension meters, but for motorcycle spokes that are very thick and there's not much room to place any tension meters, I'll show a tension meter. This is one that I use for bicycle spokes, and you place a spoke between these and release it, and it measures the deflection, so you can calculate the tension depending on the spoke's thickness. So for motorcycle spokes I would have to have an enormously strong spring here to get the measurement, and I would need to have this tremendously small, which would make it imprecise. I wouldn't be able to measure the deflection precisely because there's not much room in motorcycle wheels. The spoke lengths are a lot shorter and they're often crossed, so you don't have much wiggle room. And that renders my most precise way of measuring spoke tension useless when it comes to building motorcycle wheels. I had to rely to plucking the spokes with a guitar pluck and comparing the sound. If it's deeper sound, then it's lower tension. If it's higher pitch sound, it's higher tension, to make sure that the tension is equal. That's very important if you want your wheels to be durable. But using that method, it was very difficult to precisely measure whether the tension was optimal, so high enough. And that is where this comes in. It will allow me, by measuring the tightening torque, to know that the ballpark total tension is okay. It's a relatively rough and imprecise method, but for that it is good enough. and it will also get me to the ballpark uniform tension, roughly. So I can do just the fine tuning using a guitar pluck, but this is good enough. If you don't want to build perfect wheels, but decently built wheels, it might only do the job just this without using any other tools. It will make your job a lot quicker, and you might, depending on the strength of the rim and the spokes, you might be good enough for decades after that if you build it properly. And if you want to be on the safe side, use the guitar pluck to just assure that everything is okay. But this tool should make things a lot quicker. Let's show how it works. I have a set of torques here. This one is this side is in Newton meters, and for people in the United States, they have foot-pounds or something like that. I'm not familiar with these units. For me, they are highly unintuitive, but for people, I suppose that there are some people who find the Newton meters just as unintuitive. So it's a great thing that they built two kinds of measurements, and they also have a calculation chart here for Newton meters to these other exotic non-metric units. And the way this works is that it allows me to set the required torque. So here I have it's now set to 0, and that is how you should leave it when you're not using it. Some torque wrenches need to be set to different kinds of limits. It's usually the minimum amount they can measure when you leave them for a longer time. So for this one, depending on the manufacturer, it might be to leave it at 2 Newton meters, but the instruction manual says to leave it at 0 when you're not using it. So those are some things to pay attention to. If you unscrew it too much, loosen it too much, the spring might become unloaded and the tool might be damaged. And if you leave it under tension for a longer period of time, it might also lose some precision because the spring will get a bit compressed. And without going into many details, it's a precision tool, a sensitive one, and so put it in the protective case and use it as instructed. So here let's set this torque to 2 Newton meters. Here it is now set exactly to 2 Newton meters. If I continue going on, 2.1, 2.2, 3, 4, and when I make a whole circle, I see the small notch. So it's 2.5 Newton meters before I reach 3 Newton meters. So for this demonstration, I'll set it to 2 Newton meters of torque, and it has a rubberized upper section because it is a bit wider than this tool. And in order to prevent any damage or scratching, I think it's a good idea. And say I want to tighten this spoke to make sure that it's tight to 2 Newton meters. First thing that I do is measure the thickness of the nipple to know which kind of tool to use. Okay. It says 5 point something, but this one is a bit painted. I use this to measure the effective rim diameter, but that's about it. So I will take a 5 millimeter spoke key. Let's find it. Here it is. Still haven't unpacked it. So here is the 5 millimeter. I try different sizes and use the smallest one that fits. That's generally how I do it. So this nipple is a bit deformed because I've used some pliers to make it stuck here. I use this as a tool, this combination. But the principle is like this, the following. So I set the required torque and I place it over the nipple. And as I apply that torque, you see, once I've gone over the set torque, it will, here now it's turning the nipple, okay. Okay, I'll use this to keep the nipple stuck in place, and now I'll use this tool. Once I've exceeded the set torque, it does this, and I know that it's good enough. So that is the working principle, and I can set the torque depending on the wheel I'm building and how much tension I want to achieve. So it's a good tool. And there is another advantage of using a tool set like this that I will show in just a minute. Getting this back to 0. Okay, putting it back. These were the tools that I used to use. So this is made by Unior for motorcycle spokes. It is a bit thicker than ordinary wrenches, but still not very thick. It's about, let's measure it. It's about 4 millimeters thick, and this one is about under 4 millimeters thick, like 3.5 millimeters. And so to achieve to get the desired tool for different spokes like 5.9 millimeters, 6.8 and similar, I had to machine stuff from things like this, or to grind down and machine stuff from metric wrenches. So on 5 millimeter or 6 millimeter wrenches I would have to do some things to get different kinds of diameters. But the fact that these tools were relatively thin made applying some high torque, especially when I'm loosening stuck spokes, very difficult. So I would bend a part of a nipple, not turn the whole nipple around, because it puts pressure over a relatively small area, and nipples are not that strong as the tool. In this case, these tools are quite thick. So let's measure this. It's almost 9 millimeters. Sorry, almost 8 millimeters. So about double the thickness. So they provide pressure over a greater area, and that will allow me to put in more torque without damaging the nipples, without that risk. And so before getting these tools, I had to rely on some adjustable wrenches to get the nipples unstuck and for final tensioning it, and this is very awkward. Here I machined that lower part of the tool a bit to make scratching the rims less of a probability, but it's still very awkward to use, especially if you want to use it the right way. So with these adjustable wrenches you should always provide torque in this direction where the top part is, whether you're screwing or unscrewing. So doing it in the opposite direction, so not like this but like this, it puts a lot of stress on this adjustable part, and you can damage it. So it's very difficult to work with these and very slow and tedious. So all in all, I think this tool set will help me build wheels faster and better. And another thing that I will make a comments or maybe a follow-up video after about a year or so to show and explain when I see how durable this tool set is. It looks okay. I suppose it's made in China. It doesn't say where it's built, but it looks to be a good quality. Chinese can make some good stuff if you don't pay them just nickels. So, but it doesn't say the country of origin where it's built. But I don't care about that. It's important that these do the job, and they look good, and I'll see how they perform in the following months and years. Now I just want to make some adjustments to this tool case, because you can see it is relatively deep, and this section, the depth of it, there's more room in this foam before I reach the bottom. And these are placed like lying down, and I want to cut out deeper holes so that I can place two, one next to each other in these sections, so that I can place all the extra bits and arrange them by size. And my basic idea is to use a scalpel and cut out the foam deeper so that I can do that. And I won't be bothering you with that in this video. I think it's long enough already, and I hope this sort of a preview review, I still haven't used these tools extensively, I hope it will help you and at least provide you some information. If you have some other tools locally available, I always recommend supporting the local shops. I think that's the way to go. But for me, I had to order from abroad, so if it's Germany or Austria or England or United States, it's all the same. I have to pay the taxes, wait for everything to come shipping, and I'm not supporting a shop from my city or my country. So I opted for this. I think it looks like a good tool, and the company that sells it looks like a good company to do business with, and of course I get 10% of everyone sold. Joking. And that's it. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in some other video. Cheers. Just when you thought it was over, I'm back again. I forgot to explain one thing. For beginners, amateurs, working with poor quality or unprofessional tools or tools that are not fit for job makes it even more difficult. It makes the learning curve even greater. So, as what I would say for myself to be an experienced bicycle wheel builder, it was not a very steep learning curve to build motorcycle wheels, and I could get away with tools that make that even harder. It was not such a steep learning curve. I knew exactly how to do things and what I want to achieve and in which order, so I could manage with this, even though it was a lot of hassle, and it still is for me to build wheels with improvised tools. So if you are a beginner or an amateur, using poor quality tools will make your learning process even more difficult. So you're never certain, did I do something wrong or is it the tools? And so I think if you value your time, it's a good idea to invest in good quality tools, and they usually last for years or for a lifetime. So if in my opinion it's worth it, and I regret not having bought these tools earlier. I'll see if I will regret buying them if they don't last very long. They look okay, but I can't confirm that still. But I regret not having bought some better quality tools. At least this part, I suppose I won't be able to make this one break down. And these look quite sturdy. It looks like good quality tool still. So I suppose that at least the keys will last, if not the torque wrench. But the torque wrench looks to be of an acceptably good quality, as much as I can test by just doing brief tests and looking how heavy it is, how smoothly this turns and things like that. But of course the proof will come over the following months and years. So thank you again very much for watching. My sincere apologies if the video has been too long, but this is how I would have liked to, how I like to have things shown and explained when I'm buying something and considering to buy something. So this is, I hope it helps you. Thank you again, and cheers.